Hello YouTube, my name's Kendall, and today we're taking a look at Archetype Abasi from Neural DSP. This plugin sports 3 amps, 4 effects pedals, a graphic EQ per amp, and an extensive library of IRs from the legendary Adam Nolly Getgood. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what this plugin can do, but first I need one huge favor from you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there, and hit the bell too so you don't miss one single thing. With that being said, let's get right on to it. I've included all of the presets you're going to see today in the description box below. So if you have Archetype Abasi and want the tones, you can have them. You'll notice that in each of these patches, I've trimmed back a little input. That's just a personal preference type thing. You can do something different if you want to. So this first tone sits somewhere between a Milton Clean and a Roland Jazz chorus. I'm using the Logos compressor pedal as a sort of mild boost. My instincts tell me that this is likely a digital recreation of the Bogner-Harlow pedal, which is a pedal Tosin and I actually own. And this is approximately how I would use it in the real world. As for the amp, I've gone with the first amp, with both the bass and treble switches up, the blend knob, which rolls in a sort of piezo style signal at about 9 o'clock. Moving on to the EQ section, there's a minor cut at 65 Hz and a massive bump from 4 to 16K. I've done this because clean sounds can usually get away with massive boosts to the high end. As for the time-based effects, the Kronos R, which is the reverb pedal, is set to the stereotypical super washy type of thing, but the Kronos D is where I get a little creative. This time knob is significantly low, but the mod knob is significantly high, and that helps to achieve a tone similar to a chorus pedal, or like I said in the beginning, a Roland JC120. Moving on to the next patch, this is my low gain rhythm sound. Here I'm using the second amp with the gain super low to get more of a crunch sound, as opposed to a high gain rhythm tone, but we'll get to that in a minute. Even with the gain as low as it is, I can still get a nice visceral chug out of it. Shout out to Ola England. No EQ changes here, no pedals, no mess, no fuss, all rock and roll. Moving on to what is possibly my favorite patch, this is the low gain solo patch. I'm using basically identical settings on the Logos compressor as I was in the first patch, but this time I'm also using the Pathos distortion pedal. I've yet to play the hardware version of this pedal, but this digital recreation sounds great. On the pedal itself, I've rolled off some highs and lows, pushed the mids, used the edge setting, and adjusted volume to taste. The amp settings are the same as in the first patch, but I'm using the Pathos to sort of re-voice the amp. As for the EQ, there are minor cuts to 65 and 8K, and a small boost to 4K. The Kronos D is set to a nice single repeat, and the Kronos R is set to a short decay, so the delayed notes don't get in the way of your played notes. Moving on from that, we have my metal rhythm tone. I'm using this third amp, not only for its saturation, but also its amazing features. Again, I'm a huge fan of this treble boost switch in the up position, so that's there. This attack switch is up as well. With these two together, you can kill any muddiness, any garbage in your tone. No need to boost your tone with a tube screamer or anything. Speaking of boost, you may be scared of how high I have the treble here, but this is just how I get a little more snarl out of my amp. Once again, I've used the EQ to make a few choice cuts at 125 and 500 with a boost at 1K, again, to prevent any muddiness and to let my guitar snarl. And last, but certainly not least, my solo tone. The settings here are similar to the rhythm tone with a few changes. Firstly, the bass switch is up. I've treated this as sort of like the fat switch on an amp, which in my opinion is like the magic lead button, but that's just my opinion. There's also a bit more gain, a touch less treble. There's a bump in the master and level knobs for a little more saturation. The only EQ move is a bump to 1K, everything else is set nice and flat. Lastly, the Chronos pedals. The Chronos R is set to a point where it's barely audible. That's because the real workhorse of this patch is the Chronos D. I cannot stress enough, if you want to solo on this patch, I recommend that you have good speakers. The Chronos D is set to a sort of quarter note ping pong. So when you play a note, it'll come out of one speaker, then out of the other speaker, then out of the other speaker, and so on and so forth, etc., etc. All in all, this plugin absolutely rules. The amps, pedals, EQ, and cabinet section are all as versatile as the artists are named for, but they're super easy to dial in, even if you're a beginner. Speaking of which, if you check out the description to play these plugins for yourself, you'll find that some have some cab IRs on them, but some don't. In addition to this, I didn't talk much about the cab IRs. In case you're wondering why that is, well, the answer is simple. I didn't use them, and I didn't use any of mine either. So how did I get that tone without it sounding like, you know, what an amp sounds like without a cabinet? The answer to that question will be revealed in next week's video. So if you want to stay notified of when that happens, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to stay updated on any developments and my adventures with Neuro DSP plugins, you can follow me on social media. Bam, there it is. Follow me. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Kendall. You've been wonderful. Like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, see you soon.